Hey everybody, Heat Pump Water Heater Man here. I'm in Golden, Colorado at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, NREL. I'm here with Bethany Sparn, who does a lot of research into how to make heat pump water heaters like me better. So Bethany, thanks so much for having us out here. And tell me a little bit about the research that you do.
Sure. So I do a lot of work with heat pump water heaters, mostly for residential buildings. I started off my career looking at the first generation of 240 volt integrated heat pump water heaters many years ago. And since then, we've been seeing a ton of interesting innovations. So things like heat pump water heaters that can run off 120 volts instead of 240, using heat pump water heaters to move load around. So when there's times of day where electricity is more expensive, can you wait and not heat your water during that time, but wait until a little bit later when it might be cheaper? These are things that can help the grid add more renewable energy and help us all electrify. We've also looked at different form factors, so things like split heat pump water heaters that maybe can fit into different spaces. So we've been looking at a lot of questions around how to make heat pump water heaters work for everybody.
That's amazing. I'm so excited. So tell me a little bit about what we're going to go see in the lab.
So we are going to see one of our labs where we do a lot of integration work. So how do we control water heaters with a lot of other things in the house that we might want to control? How do we understand their response to different grid signals? So this is more of our integration lab because this is where we have more of our water heater work right now. We have another lab that we're not going to see today that's more on the performance side, but we don't have anything set up in there to see.
Okay, super excited. Let's go on in. Okay, so here we are in the Systems Performance Lab here at National Renewable Energy Lab. I'm here with Bethany. And Bethany, we're in this room with lots of appliances. I see a heat pump water heater in the corner and then lots of other electric appliances. Why do you have all these appliances together?
Great question. So this is a lab where we look at system integration. So how do we bring heat pump water heaters and other electric equipment into a home and not only make it all work if you are maybe electrifying, moving from gas appliances to electric appliances, but also understanding how those appliances might affect the grid. So there might be times a day where there's more renewable energy available. And so you might want to shift when your large appliances like a water heater might use energy. So you can also see that we have a control module on here. This is a CTA 2045 control module that can receive signals from a utility to help it move energy use to times of day when there's most renewable energy, lower emissions on the grid. So this lab is really looking at these questions of integration and interaction with the grid.
That's amazing. So heat pump water heaters can be controlled and you can turn them on when there's a lot of solar power or turn them off during high demand. But people aren't usually affected if you turn them off, right? Because water stores heat
Yeah.
pretty well.
Water heaters are an excellent device for load shifting because they're basically a thermal battery. You can heat up the water in the tank and then use it whenever you want, whenever you need it. So it's a great way to change the sort of normal paradigm of you take a shower, you reheat the tank. Well, you don't really need to do it that way. So being able to take advantage of that tank of hot water gives you a lot of flexibility on when you use power.
Okay, Bethany, we're in another part of the lab, and I see a water heater that has a different type of plug, just a standard plug that goes into a standard 120 volt outlet. Tell me about this water heater.
This is a 120 volt heat pump water heater.
Woohoo!
So it's just looks very much like the one we just looked at that runs off of 240 volts, but instead it runs off of a standard 120 volt plug. It does this by relying on the heat pump instead of the electric elements that might be used for backup. And the heat pump is already very efficient and can run off of lower power.
And how have you all tested this water heater?
We have looked at it and in terms of its overall efficiency and performance. And then we moved it to this lab to understand how it might integrate with other appliances as we try to electrify. So if you're moving from a gas water heater to electric, this might be a great option, especially if you don't have extra large outlets available. So this would make it much easier to switch to an electric water heater.
Awesome. So cool. Okay, well, finally, tell me about a new project that you just got funding for to research heat pump water heaters.
Yeah, thanks. So we are working with collaborators at Colorado School of Mines and some other folks to look at how to make heat pump water heaters work in smaller spaces. So think small closets where we might traditionally have gas water heaters. So this water heater is a little bit bigger than a traditional gas or electric water heater. So how do we take this efficient option and make it work for small spaces? So our concept for this project is taking a 120 volt heat pump water heater and trying to make it smaller. And we're doing that by looking at something called a phase change material. So it's something that can melt at different temperatures. So water is a phase change material. can make ice or boil, and there's a lot of energy involved in that. For our project, we're thinking about things like waxes that might melt at the right temperature for heating water. And by using phase change material with water, we might be able to shrink the overall size and fit it into smaller spaces.
Wow, amazing. It's so fun to come here to NREL and see the cutting edge research that's happening to make heat pump water heaters like me better. And Bethany, I've been asking some of my friends on my tour to do a little heat pump dance. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
All right. Well, thanks for having us on a tour today, and let's get heat pumped up.